Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and here's 4 quick steps on how to succeed on YouTube. Step 1, do not talk about The Last of Us Part 2, which is a very popular game. Step 2, do talk about SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Step 3, return to The Last of Us Part 2 when the content space is heavily saturated. Every single content creator, member of the media, streamer is talking about this game. Surely you'll get recognized. Step 4, profit. And between this video and my review, you will see the fruits of the beautiful 4-step plan. But yeah, I got my copy. I'm going to be working on a review. Yes, I apologize. It is a little bit late, but I imagine most people just want to hear my general thoughts on the game and aren't using it as some form of a decision on their purchase, because so many people have been talking about the game that I wouldn't blame you if curiosity is simply what got the best of you. And even though it's going to be late, I'm very happy that the copy came late because I ordered it over a week ago, but the discourse with The Last of Us Part 2 is very much in the extreme area, whether you're really supporting it or you're really hating it, and it seems like anything in the middle, trying to be critical, here's how you improve, is getting brushed aside in a manner of ways. So yeah, do look out for that, and today we're talking about something that Naughty Dog has done that's not really helped the conversation surrounding The Last of Us Part 2 in regards to paid reviews, accepting one another's opinions, because now we have Sony getting a bit involved, and this isn't a good look at the minimum. So let's set the stage with some of the reviews. If you haven't been paying attention, Metacritic, a site that none of us should take seriously at this point in time, has over 100,000 user scores for The Last of Us Part 2. Now, if you want a good comparison, let's take a look at Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4, one of the most popular PS4 exclusives, and for God's sakes, it's Spider-Man, and his reviews haven't even touched 5,000. So if you're one of those people who's trying to tell me that most of these people have actually played this game, I don't believe you. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk coming out about The Last of Us Part 2, mostly in regards to paid reviews. I'm sure all of us have seen it at one point or another when a reviewer comes out with an opinion that maybe isn't popular or it doesn't vibe with someone's actual opinion. They accuse you of being paid. I've been accused of being paid. So many other members of the press have been accused of being paid. I imagine most relevant reviewers of any kind have been told at one point or another they've been paid or not paid enough to give a game a good review, because sadly what I've started to learn is that reviews are more so used as a fortification for someone's opinion. For a lot of people, like if a game's bad and you make a negative review just tearing it up, that's a good review because it supports your mindset, but it's not a good review because of what the person's saying and how they're breaking it down. It's because it fortifies what someone believes, and that is some inherent bias that's really crept into the review scene. Various members of the media as well as other creators have stepped up and spoken out about game scores, paid reviews, and all of that jazz. Pretty much the story, and the story that I believe and have supported for a while, is that paid reviews are not a thing at all, and if they were a thing, there is someone within the press that could benefit quite a bit from outing that sort of practice. There are fishy things, like we'll say IGN First, where they pay for first coverage. They do get the previews for the game before anyone else in media, or you have the Game Informer cover stories where they get exclusive access to games and obviously exchange for money. There are situations like that where money changes hands. Does it overall impact the final score from what's been told to us? No, but I do understand people who still remain skeptical, but I feel like it's just a lazy argument at one point to say, I disagree with you, you were probably paid. So you're probably wondering what this all has to do with what I'm going to talk about today, so let's do some reading. This article comes from Polygon talking about how The Last of Us Part 2 is a minefield when it comes to discussions, and that even Sony's gotten involved with some of their discrepancies with people's reviews. In specifics, The Vice. The vibe around the game hasn't gotten much better since then. On June 12th, Vice published its review of The Last of Us Part 2, in which critic Robert Zacny said that the game had memorable moments that made for great spectacle. He was less taken with the story and its characters though. Nobody ever considers their quest for revenge, Zacny wrote. Everyone acts under a kind of vindictive compulsion that goes little remarked and unexamined. Zacny went on to describe the game's message as complacent, full of oppressive bleakness and violence. While the vast majority of reviews have lavished The Last of Us Part 2 with all sorts of praise, a handful of outlets, Polygon included, have been slightly more critical of the blockbuster game. According to Zacny, Vice's review prompted a Sony representative to reach out on behalf of Naughty Dog. Okay, before we go any further, I think that sentence is very alarming to people. I just want to make sure for anyone who's stopping to go write a comment, apparently the interaction was very pleasant. There wasn't any like, how could you say that? There was none of that. I don't want it to be posed that way or framed that way. So before I continue reading, I want to make it crystal clear that this doesn't seem to be a negative interaction, but it is a bit alarming, and we'll get into that after we finish reading, so let's continue. They felt some of the conclusions I reached in my review were unfair and dismissed some meaningful changes or improvements Zachney told Polygon over Twitter messages. Zachney clarified that the exchange wasn't confrontational, but that it was nonetheless unusual, as the site doesn't typically have big publishers asking in an official capacity why a review reads the way it does. Such things can happen, of course, though often with smaller developers or from publishers who have spotted a factual error in a piece they want corrected. I was happy to unpack a bit of my reasoning, however, and received a perfectly cordial message in response, Zachney said. Naughty Dog's PR team declined to comment on Polygon's inquiry about its exchange with Vice. It's just not a good look when there's so much controversy around your game, specifically in the reception of reviews, and it's really sparked this talk of paid reviews, that a Sony representative goes out of their way to interrogate someone about the decisions on their review. Now, I can confidently tell you all, I've never had this type of encounter in my channel's history. The worst I've had is, for example, I upload a review and you do have to disclose if you got a review copy from a company, and one time I forgot, so I had to take down my review and re-upload it. The other time, a company thought I got something wrong, and so they contacted me via email to amend what seemed to be a factual error. I explained what I had read, sent them the piece that I was referring to, and they said, oh, sorry, we're actually in the wrong. So, score one for Matty on that. In all seriousness though, it is definitely a bit alarming seeing representatives reach out and have you explain their reviews. It doesn't help the narrative of, like I said, paid reviews. It certainly doesn't help with the new narrative popping up with Ghost of Tsushima review copies being out in the wild that Sony may be cherry picking reviews. And it definitely doesn't help when they use the DMCA takedown system to silence people who were merely discussing The Last of Us Part 2 spoiler free. And what's awfully strange is this is one of the best reviewed games of the year. It's doing stupid well critically, and it's selling so well. Like, that has actually come from PlayStation. That's not some third-party source. PlayStation themselves have confirmed that this game is selling faster than any other PS4 exclusive. That is faster than God of War. That is faster than Days Gone, which actually did better than a lot of you think. That's faster than, of course, Spider-Man. That is a lot of great competition to beat. So I don't see the point in reaching out in an official capacity. I think it's totally cool if a member of the team, whether it be AAA or smaller developer, I don't think we need to go ahead and split hairs there. I think it's totally reasonable for a creative who's invested so much time into a project to see, hey, why did you think this? Because the game involves a lot of people. You have specialists in sound, you have specialists in environmental design, and maybe one of the environmental designers heard something about how the level was made. Hey, why did you think that, right? Like, that type of stuff, if the creative's involved, totally cool in my book. As a personal reviewer, I'd love to have that discourse with someone who makes the game and their process through making it, because at that point it's just a one-way street. So I'd always love and encourage to hear from developers and publishers in a manner of speaking, but when it comes to an official capacity, questioning your decisions and calling you dismissive, I just think it's a bit questionable. And if anything, I'm sure this would be fine any other day of the week, but when it comes to The Last of Us Part 2, where there's a lot of accusations of paid reviews, of cherry-picking reviewers, of that kind of nature, I believe it's very short-sighted to reach out to someone and be like, hey, why'd you say this? Especially when your game's doing so well, both critically, at least on the critic level, not really user score, because it's hard as hell to gauge, but also financially. And a lot of people will always mistake like a reasonable stance as just blatant defense. I have not played this game. I have zero opinion on this game. I have not played it. That's why I made this video now before playing this. The gameplay you're watching is still from like the state of play. It's still from E3. Like, I'm still using essentially press gameplay because I wanted to make sure I was going into this video as crystal clear as possible without having any sway of actually putting my hands on the title and either liking it a bit more or disliking it more, and having my conversation kind of ebb and flow based off that, even if it's ever so slightly. So yeah, now it's time for me to get to work here. How many times have I picked up this game? I should have just held it in my hands the entire video. But anyway, I pass it off to you, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think of The Last of Us Part 2 so far? Are you enjoying it? I probably won't read that, but what do you think of this particular story? More importantly, what do you think of Sony reaching out and questioning Vice about their review? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, so do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons who continue to support exactly what we're doing here, which is just talking games and having a good time. All right, I'll talk with all of you later. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.